In First Peter, Peter's writing to believers who are scattered throughout the Roman Empire. They're living as exiles in foreign lands. They're facing trials and opposition and uncertainty. As exiles, they'd been expelled from their own homes, from their own lands. And in the first century, your land was your inheritance. It was your future. To be ripped away from your home meant for them that there's a lot of uncertainty about tomorrow. There's a lot of uncertainty about their inheritance, their future. And maybe they began wondering, does God even see us still? Are his promises still true? And Peter reminds them, he reminds us of something profound. Your earthly inheritance is uncertain, but there's an inheritance that's not uncertain. In 1 Peter 1, verses 4 and 5, he writes of an incorruptible, undefiled, and unfading inheritance that has been reserved in heaven for you. And by trusting, you're being protected by God's power for a salvation ready to be revealed in the last time. Peter's not offering a vague hope of a maybe kind of encouragement. He's pointing to something that is certain, something that transcends the temporary struggles of this world. He says, we have an inheritance, a promise from God that is incorruptible, undefiled, and unfading. It's an inheritance unlike anything we can grasp in the natural world. The things we treasure on earth, our possessions, our plans, our achievement, those things decay and spoil or diminish over time. But not this inheritance. Peter invites us to lift our eyes beyond our present circumstances. Perhaps you face seasons of loss where things you've worked for, or people you've trusted, or dreams that you've nurtured have crumbled. Life in this broken world is filled with uncertainties. Here's the good news. Our inheritance in Yeshua is eternal, untouched by the forces that cause things to break down and fade away. And God himself is watching over it. And that should give us comfort. But there's more. In verse 5, Peter says that by trusting, you are being protected by God's power for salvation ready to be revealed in the last time. So not only is our inheritance being preserved for us, but we too are being preserved, guarded by God's power. So you think about that for a moment. God's power is surrounding us like a shield, keeping us on a path toward the fullness of salvation that will one day be revealed. The word Peter uses for guarded is a military term, implying that we're under constant protection of the King of Kings. We may be walking through hostile territory, but we're not alone. God himself is surrounding us. And that's important because Peter's not sugarcoating the fact that we will face trials. He acknowledges that for a little while we may be distressed by various trials, but those trials serve a purpose. They're refining us. Just as gold is refined in the fire, our faith is being purified through the struggles, through the things that we endure. And this faith, Peter says, is more precious, far more valuable than gold. Because even gold, even though it's refined, it eventually perishes. But our faith will endure forever. Our faith that's tested and tried. And I know it can be hard to understand in the moment when we're in the middle of trials. It can feel overwhelming. We might wonder, where is God in this? Why is this happening to me? But the scriptures urge us here to hold on to our hope. Our trials aren't random. They're part of God's refining work in us. And through them, he is preparing us to receive the fullness of his promises. He's removing the impurities that weaken our faith. He's strengthening what remains. So what do we do with this? We anchor ourselves in this truth. Our inheritance is secure. God is guarding us, even in the midst of trials, and he is using those very things to refine our faith. We may not see Yeshua with our physical eyes, but we trust him. And in that trust, we find joy.